see you. So hang on one sec and let's get the recording on. I'm getting the thumbs up. We are good to go. All right, this particular session.
Recording in progress.
Let me start that again. This particular session is on industrial hemp farming, processing, and market development. All right, so we've heard over this morning and yesterday, we're talking about the opportunities for the industrial hemp market. To me, this is kind of like real estate. The three things are location, 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 right? Well, just like in recycling and for this industry, it's markets, markets, markets. You better have an outlet for where you're going for the material. So this particular session is going to be moderated by Adam Wick, CEO of Healthy Hemp Outlet, and I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to turn it over to Adam and let him introduce our presenters. And I believe we have got Melissa up, so that's good.
Thank you very much. We'll keep my mouth quiet here so this can go on, and we'll just let Melissa take it away. Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for listening in and having me come in and speak to you guys today. So what I wanted to touch on is kind of the trifecta of why our processing facility is moving at the rate that it is, why we're experiencing the success that we have, and basically tie it in and help you understand the full picture of if you're going to go out and start a processing facility, what are some of those background pieces that you need to have in order to be successful. So we're going to touch a little bit on farming, we're going to touch a little bit on processing, and we're going to touch a little bit on those final products and where they're headed. All right, so I love to introduce our team because I think it's very important that you understand a little bit about us in order to understand how we've evolved to the way that we have today. Myself, Melissa Nelson, I'm a crop research scientist. I work with developmental products in terms of fungicides, any pesticides, fertilizer program, biostimulants, new varieties, genetic testing, residue safety levels, etc. Okay, my husband and my brother-in-law, Aaron and Richard, are fourth generation farmers, so very knowledgeable in row crops, large scale agriculture, machinery and modifications, fabrication, etc. And so together we kind of create this trifecta for details, farming, and then development. And just to understand a little bit about our history, so you can understand a little bit about the projections and where we're going. In 2019, that was the first year Kansas could grow. We put in 80 acres of dry land for fiber and grain. Our focus has always been fiber and grain. 2020, we did 55 acres of irrigated fiber and grain. So while the number of acres reduced, the value of those acres increased. 2021, we did 110 acres of fiber and grain with 40 acres of dryland grain varieties. So we did 9 different varieties in 2021. We opened our fiber processing facility and we contracted about 1,000 acres throughout the Midwest. As 22 rolls around, we are actively growing 300 acres ourselves, so 2.5 pivots. And then we've contracted just shy of 2,000 acres throughout Kansas, Nebraska, a little bit of Missouri, and a little bit of Oklahoma. So my big push in 2022 is variety trials. We're doing 13 different varieties on our farm this year. And then I've got 10 different variety trials in conjunction with the Global Hemp Association across the United States to really find and highlight those varieties that are working well for farmers and really giving them valuable data. When I love talking about hemp and what we do here, when we give advice to any of our farmers at the farming processing level, it's because we've tried it. We've done pretty much everything wrong that you can do in hemp. In 2019, our crop was a total fail in terms of production value, but the value or the knowledge gained was priceless. I think that's why we've had such a successful 2020. And moving forward is because we've really worked out what doesn't work for our area. A big question, and a lot of you guys understand this because when you speak to any hemp convention or any cannabis convention, you know, it's kind of an echo chamber. We all love cannabis and we understand the potential that it has, But a lot of the questions that I get from local farmers here, and if you're looking to start processing, you'll get those too, is, is this another black guy? Are we getting ready to repeat the CBD industry? And the answer is no, this is not another black eye. It's worth your valuable time and effort, because if you look at the projections and what this can scale to be in terms of farming and processing and manufacturing, there's so much potential here. And I really think people are starting to see that, and you can see it with the shift in the consumer demand for sustainability in terms of product development and different products available to those consumers. Now, one of the things that is really is very important from every level, but particularly the farming, and why I say this, and I continue to hit home about it. If you are a manufacturer, if you are a processor, at the end of the day, it's the farmers that are going to make you successful. And the reason is because these varieties, we are very data driven. We are very focused on the structural components of the plant. And so every batch that goes out of our facility is tested for cellulose, lignin, dust, ash content, etc. And so when that gets to the manufacturing level, if you are focused on bioplastics, you're going to want different properties than someone that is going to be doing hempcrete. So understanding the niche markets, which is the top of the pyramid, it's critical that you have a solid foundation, which is your seed genetics, your varieties, and your consistency. So that is why I'm pushing so hard on the farming level to get those variety trials out across the United States. I think there's a lot of poor data out there. So we've got different research scientists as well as different farming communities across the country that are pouring in data so we can get reputable data out to these different farmers and different growers throughout the U.S. But to understand your textiles, which you'll hear Susan talk about, to understand what market you're trying to hit, you need to understand what varieties you need to be successful. Or maybe not the variety specific, but in order to, timing is everything. So if you're harvesting for textiles, you're going to harvest at a different time than if you're harvesting for dual purpose. Coloring, redding, all of those things are critical at the farming level in order for you to meet the needs of the processor and then in turn the manufacturer. Because as a middle person, as a processor, we ask the farmers to do what the manufacturers are needing for us. We're just that bridge to gap those two different industries. And so understanding the farming side and understanding what the manufacturers are needing is very critical. Now, one of the things that we're running into, and you hear it all the time, we've been breeding corn since about 1866. I mean, really, that's when they started monitoring all of the different genetics, how they performed, et cetera. And we've had quite the span. And you can see in the blue dots here, that is when your big companies started coming into effect to really move genetics and focused breeding forward. And so a lot of the farmers are experiencing challenges now because they expect the level of performance that they've been getting with corn, soy, milo, and wheat with an immature crop that we're basically back in the 1930s with in terms of genetics. So we're getting there as fast as possible. We're doing the best work we can as quickly as possible to really make the pressure up to what farmers are used to working with on their other commodity crops. As you guys can see here highlighted, these are different AOSCO certified seed varieties. Everything highlighted is available varieties for fiber and grain. I may have missed a couple, but most of the highlighted one, or most of the not highlighted ones are not going to be your fiber and grain varieties. So as you guys know, CBD has been the main focus up until now. And so moving these things forward as quickly as possible is going to be critical. Now, another thing with these genetics, again, is understanding their purpose. And so understanding how they interact in your latitude and your farmer's region, which again, if you're a processor or a manufacturer, regional processing is going to be critical for success. There's people that have reached out to us in, Chicago, in New York, et cetera, and they look at the cost of transportation to get our goods to them, and it really negates any profits that they're going to have. So understanding your region, understanding what you can grow there, and understanding the varieties that are going to help you be successful in that area, again, are pivotal to the success at whatever level you are in this supply chain. Latitude is the lines that run east to west across the globe. As you guys can see, the varieties that you have heard a lot about in grain is up in Canada. We've tried some of those varieties here in Kansas. They are not successful. We find that varieties can go south to north, but do not perform as well when going north to south. So again, understanding how it works together, understanding its potential in your area is critical for success. So there's different things that you can do. Third-party tests, again, getting behind studies. I'm independent. All the scientists that I work with are independent. I'm not saying universities are good or bad. There's valuable data in both of these, but understanding the tests that you're reading, understanding what you're getting with the data that you're reading is going to be very important. So the trial that we're putting in, we are evaluating 10 major varieties across the U.S. and with different agronomic indicators being observed. We're also taking some of these locations all the way through processing. So we will test for the contents that I told you about earlier, your ash, your lignin, your dust particles, your tensile strength. All of those things are critical and different from variety to variety. So we're taking this from a field level, we're getting data there, and then we're taking it a step further and we're running it through processing, particularly at our facility here in Great Bend, Kansas. And we're getting just, again, more data. Data-driven, and helps you make educated decisions. As you guys know, seed struggles are real. Lack of regulations, lack of quality assurance, understanding where your seed is coming from. There's a big push for ayahuasca certified seed. I truly believe that in order for it to be successful and to give the farmers the reassurance that they need, we do need certified seed. We're getting there. You see the players, the big players in the industries that want to be taken seriously, they are getting that certification. So we're getting there. But one of the things that you'll notice is some of the highest performing varieties that you're seeing across the United States right now are not ayahuasca certified. So as a farmer, insurance options aren't great for this crop. So if you're going to risk, you might as well risk and get the most potential yield that you can get. So that's why we're seeing non-ayahuasca certified seed so prevalent in the farming community. This is the Global Hemp Association's trial locations that we're running this year. As you guys can see, these are all very different locations, regions, different focuses. The East Coast is going to be more textile driven. The Midwest is going to be more dual purposed, variety driven. You've got different rainfall commitments in each of these area, or potential in each of these area, humidity, all of these things will get collected and compiled into one report to be published. So now we kind of touch upon the processing side, which again is very critical that you understand the farming side in order to be successful as a processor. The middle picture there, that's what the herd looks like coming into the facility. Your inside woody substance is your herd, your outside is your bast fiber. We ask for round bales, as you can see on the left side, and then the right side is what it looks like after it's been through our decorticator. We see consumer demand really driving this industry. You've got regenerative ag as a hot topic. You've got carbon capturing programs, which Great Bend Co-op, which is just a mile down the road from our facility, it was one of the largest payout facilities in the United States for carbon capturing programs through Tatura, with $685,000 being sold to being given to farmers for their carbon credits. And so understanding the potential of hemp, you've got those programs out there. We're working with the different developers to really focus and give farmers, again, another dollar amount that they can take to these Jutura programs and different programs and say, hey, my hemp is potentially capturing 4 times more carbon than corn. I should get that rate of return in a bigger dollar amount. Because at the end of the day, it's a business and you've got to keep your doors open and be profitable within that business. You see green building, your bioplastics, zero waste at our facility, which is very, feel good, fuzzy feeling for a lot of the people that support us as well as ourselves. We want to be the best stewards of the land as farmers. We want to be the best stewards of the land as processors. And then we're moving to manufacturing facilities that are also being good stewards of the land. So this is our processing facility, South Bend Industrial Hemp, located in Great Bend, Kansas. If you do come and tour our facility, it will never be this shiny again. This was the very first day that we brought it in and got it all set up and hooked up. It's very well loved. We run 6 days a week, about 16 hours a day, and are pumping out orders as fast as possible. Our goal within the 2022 season is to get up to 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Manufacturers are needing our variety data yesterday. As you can see on the left, that's micronized herd. We have sent out several verification samples, et cetera, to different bioplastic facilities, which they create that pellet there in the center, which in turn will be TVs, cell phones, plastic water bottles. But the big thing that people are focused on right now is it's not cost effective to scale like that. People don't want to pay for the higher price of micronized hemp, and we're just not at that point yet where we can be cost effective with petroleum plastics. So you either are going to pay more and be trendsetters within the industry, or you're going to have to stick to your petroleum, because we can't sell it for 2 cents a pound, or what they're looking for in the petroleum plastics. Base rate, you're paying your farmers 20 cents a pound for their product, and then you've got your processing fee, et cetera. So understanding that it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but if you really believe in this industry and you want to see it move forward, you're going to support that. Again, this is some of the things that we look at with our testing. We use the Veteran Scientific Lab with James Johnston. Just in terms of consistency, every batch that gets ran through for every farmer, everything's coded, everything has their own lab results, and so everything goes to the specific buyers that want these lab results. We run the same varieties in every farm, and so that way, again, consistency from the farmer, consistency from the processing facility is going to give our manufacturers consistency. Big thing, communication with your processor, whether you're a manufacturer or a grower. Understanding what that processor is either A, capable of, or B, needs the farmer to bring their product in as, is going to be critical for success on every level. And so don't ignore the details. They'll make or break your product or your season if you're a farmer. Again, everything is very specific. We need round bales. We can't support square bales just because we're focused on long stranded fiber. Our average fiber length is about 24 inches, and the longest fiber that we've had come out of our facility is about 55 inches. And so round bales are critical for how our machine works. You can see that's how it feeds through. It cuts a mat. That's why we get the long stranded fiber, and particularly compared to the LaRouche or other products that are on the market, we do not grind our product. That's why we can get such cleanliness and why we get such quality with our herd and fiber, and it's because of the system that we use. We've got 2 different sizes of fiber. The size on the left is the fines, the size in the right is medium. Based upon lab reports, we're 99% fiber free, 99% dust free. And in terms of consistency and sizing of the particles, we are over 90% on consistency size. So critical if you are looking for consistency at the manufacturing level. So again, focus on the pyramid. If you are at any level, whether you're the manufacturer, whether you're the grower, you have to have a solid understanding of the genetics that are going to work well in your area. You're going to need a solid understanding of how to farm that. when you should be processing it and bringing it to or when you should be harvesting it and bringing it to your processor. And in turn, the processor, you need to understand what your manufacturers are looking for. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting on a lot of product that can't be moved or won't be moved at the price that you want it to be moved at. So any questions, I'm always available, southbendhemp@gmail.com. I'm very transparent and open on our Facebook page, South Bend Industrial Hemp, Instagram, South Bend Hemp, or you can always visit our website, southbendindustrialhemp.com. So, are there any questions?
Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Melissa. We're going to check the room here to see if we have any questions. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Next up, Industrial Hemp Textiles. Where are we and what are we and what we need to do? Sorry. Susan brings a lot of energy to these things, so I'm going to get out of her way.
Oh, God. I'm the one with the technical difficulty. Okay. Okay. I have been involved in the industrial hemp business since 2015. In 2018, I became involved in the industrial hemp business because I formed a partnership with the Sheep Ranchers Association. And the reason that this presentation is focused not entirely on hemp is because there is absolutely no way to produce textiles in the United States with 100% hemp, 50% hemp, and actually textiles that are produced with 50% hemp will be scratchy and will not be, and you will definitely take a long time to soften them. So I wanted to let you know that we are talking about wool and hemp, okay? This is the audience participation part of my presentation. If you had a name, oh, we got to go to the next one. I'm sorry. Okay. If you had to name the biggest cause of climate change, I need an answer. What would you say? Plastic bottles, lack of recycling, or a t-shirt? Does anybody have an answer? Who said that? You want a SHEMP? Yep. Okay. The answer is your t-shirt. And that is the truth. Oh God, did I do this right? Okay. The inconvenient truth is that the textile industry is one of the dirtiest industries in the world, second to the oil industry. Is there any reason that we would doubt that hemp would be a great alternative to oil? Oil goes to more plastics. It goes into almost everything that we use today. The average American, think about each of you in this room, throws away 85 pounds of clothing every year. Imagine that. And 85% of that goes to landfills. That is actually a landfill filled with textiles. It takes almost 100 years for all of that to break down. And when it does, it turns into microplastics, which then pollute our ocean. How about that? That's pretty terrible. I'm going to go to the next one. The textile industry is responsible for 1/10 of all greenhouse gas emissions. Does everybody understand what greenhouse gases are? Okay. You know that we live on the earth and we live in a greenhouse. We are really lucky. But what's happening is when we burn fossil fuels, it raises the temperature of the earth. And as the earth temperature increases, we end up with glaciers melting, we end up with the rainforest being destroyed. It is time that we stop this. Each year, the textile industry uses almost 21 trillion gallons of water. Think about that. There are people all over the world who do not have any water. Yet it takes, out of that, for every t-shirt that you and I put on, I have a t-shirt on underneath here. It takes 713 gallons to produce that t-shirt. I want you to think about that. At the Shemp Yarn Company, we play a part in revitalizing the textile industry in the United States. I don't want to think about today where we're going to be in 30 years. I have children. I have grandchildren. I even have great-grandchildren. I want them to live in a world where textiles are sustainably produced, and that starts with the yarn to create them. We have to start to think about that. We cannot continue to take 85 pounds of our clothing every year and throw it away. That is not effective. As I mentioned, how I got into this, it all started with the Farm Bill, actually. And to tell you the quite truth, I was the volunteer director for the National Hemp Association. That is why Josh Whaling is always kidding me. What happened was that with that, sheep ranchers are a form of producers. They realized that there was an abundance of wool in the United States. What you may or may not know, much of the wool in the United States gets shipped overseas. And they really wanted to be able to utilize that wool in the United States. And what they thought was, oh, with the Farm Bill, maybe we can combine it with hemp. So what we can do there is we'll provide jobs for sheep ranchers, and we'll provide something for farmers. In an agricultural situation, that is the perfect match. Both wool and hemp have global reputations for sustainability. I don't know if any of you know this, but wool and hemp are fire retardant. Isn't that amazing? They are completely compostable. They're renewable. They're versatile. The word is eco-friendly. They are both warm. They are both strong. Wool and hemp, you can bend wool and hemp more than you can ever bend a cotton fiber. Okay? So research told us that this would work. We went to Gaston Technical College in North Carolina, and we talked to them. This is not on the slide. We also went and talked to the American Wool Council, and we all determined that the ability to make a yarn, which is imperative to creating a textile, would be better serviced by combining wool and hemp. There's a very technical reason for that, and I will go into that very quickly. When wool is processed, it has little hooks. Like if you look at your wool sweater and it's kind of fuzzy, those are little hooks. When you process hemp right next to it, the wool grabs the hemp, and they blend simultaneously. So they create a wonderful blend of yarn, okay? So our initial trials, they were really unsuccessful. I mean, the hemp that we got was atrocious. But I will tell you that National Spinning and Gaston Tech did their best. They absolutely worked hard. But in the end, Rudy Balance, who is the manager of National Spinning is in Whiteville, North Carolina. They were one of the largest spinning facilities in the entire country. He said, the problem with U.S. hemp is that producers cannot get enough of the chips out of it to create raw material needed for spinning. The quality of the yarn produced was marginal. We hope that for continued improvement in the process of hemp and look forward to more developments. They were hopeful. Got to go to the next slide, sorry about that. Our company was then formed in 2018 because, to tell you quite truthfully, the sheep ranchers deserted the project. I guess they were smarter than me. And so over the last 3 years, I continued that project. Not only did I continue the project, I created the mascot for SHEMP, I trademarked it, and I own the category at the U.S. Trademark Association for the category of wool and hemp yarn. And I purchased that. I pay for it every 6 months. What is SHEMP? SHEMP is an innovative mix of wool and hemp. I have some. Everybody can have some if they like. If you feel it, it's soft. It comes in 4 different varieties currently. The interesting thing about this is that when we blend this, we blend more wool than we do hemp. And there's a reason for that. We don't have any hemp. And we have to import it and we don't import hemp. So that's key to this. And our vision, and what it is we produce a worsted textile. If you know anything about textiles, In wool, you can have a woolen textile or you can have a worsted textile. A worsted textile produces a much softer product, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be high quality because after all, a wool hemp yarn is going to have to be special, so it has to feel good. I mean, if it doesn't feel good, people are going to say, why would I pay for this? One of the things I thought about, and because everybody talked about this, is was there a market? So I thought to myself, well, let me think about that. So what I came up with was socks. This is a really interesting thing, and outdoor apparel. I don't know if you knew this, but the outdoor apparel was the largest growing industry during COVID. During COVID, the outdoor apparel industry netted, in 1 year, $887 billion. Imagine that, during COVID, okay? So I thought about this. So what do people wear when they go on outdoor excursions? I'll bet each one of you put socks on. I mean, I'm not going to wear boots out in the outdoors without socks in them. So then I thought about that. So the sock industry, we didn't believe this, but the bottom line is the sock industry every year, $24.160 billion per year. 84% of that is for athletic socks. Imagine that. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I know I'm not going to sell a lot of these, but if I go for 5% of it, after a few years, not the first week, I'm going to make $3 million in gross profit by the third year that I am in business. That's my net profit. My gross profit was $8 million. I had to figure out about operating expenses, all the other things that go into this. Was I ever going to be able to buy hemp in the United States to put into this? But that's what I came up with. I knew that after it was all done, I was going to make $3 million. Now, that could be a pipe dream. It could be a reality. But we can make it a reality. I got to go to the next one. Okay. I don't know if any of you know about the lean startup process, but it's a book. Eric Rice wrote it. A lot of people use it now. It's called You Build, You Measure, and You Learn. One of the ways you learn is you go out of the building and you talk to people. I mean, you could sit in your office all day long and talk to yourself. With COVID, I had the perfect opportunity to call people. They actually answered the phone. So our research told us that there were a lot of key challenges that we would have to overcome. Well, that's just life. Every day we get up, we meet challenges. So we knew that one of the main things is that the feedstock, which is the raw materials, supplied by the farmers, needed to be used entirely with little waste. I mean, what's the sense of doing this if you can't use the entire stalk? We want to use every part of it. And that would give us a strong economic return throughout the entire supply chain. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's important to notice the textiles that are produced from hemp are used in the industrial industry. They make carpet backing, they're used in automobiles, they make diapers. Do you know that the #1 imported product was diapers, hemp diapers? Would you believe it? I was like, really? And nonwovens, it's called nonwovens, okay? And they're produced by, you don't have to spin or process them. There's challenges, of course we can't get an investment because people are investing their money in other kinds of hemp and they're having a hard time thinking that, oh God, maybe I should take my money out of that and put it into another kind of hemp. And it's really hard to talk to people when they've kind of put their money into something and the return has been decimated. And as Joff Whaling mentioned, most people, when you ask them, tell them about hemp, they think it's all CBD. I spend half my life explaining to people. My husband and I go out to dinner and I say, I'm in this business, I have to explain that I am not smoking pot every day. Anyway, so the thing that is really important is that Melissa just spoke. I actually work with Melissa. And so I have to say that we are already developing a knowledgeable agricultural process for industrial hemp. And it's beginning to move forward. That is the first step in moving toward production. There is also knowledgeable processing of industrial hemp, and that is moving forward rapidly. You know what decortication is because it's been explained. I don't know if all of you know the process for how you get hemp to become a textile, but what happens is it's decorticated, which goes through the process that separates the bast from the hurd, and you get two kinds of, you get both sides. The bast is the lesser side, the hurd is the bigger side, but that's just the way it goes. In the end, you could sell the bast side of it for more than you can pay the hurd side, so I always say they equal itself out. Then it has to be degummed. What is degumming? Degumming is the hemp, where the hemp fiber has to be separated from its glue. Hemp fiber has glue. There are many methods of doing this, but the most come at a high cost through fiber damage, high water and chemical inputs, or waste treatment. The Chinese, they do a lot of degumming, and they are able to produce the end product, which I will show you. But they don't have as many regulations, and here we are not allowed to use those processes. I have friends that I have been friends with for a very long time in North Carolina called Renaissance Fiber. They are two very endearing scientists who have developed a degumming process that is natural. And they've been at this forever. So I do applaud them. Well, we have a problem to be solved. Well, the problem is this. The textile industry utilizes different systems for spinning to produce traditional yarns. There's the cotton system, which most of us, we may not know about it, but that is the common process in the United States. And we have the woolen process, which produces yarns that are soft, bulky, and abrasive, which is what I mentioned. And then we have the worsted system, which we use for SHEMP, and that's really environmentally friendly and uses less resources, and the raw materials used are complementary. The bottom line is wool and hemp don't use as much water. Think about it, we don't have to water sheep, they water themselves. But there is, unfortunately, even though we know those things, there is a missing link. Many people think that, oh God, this is going to come through the decorticator, I'm going to degum this, and I'm going to have fiber, because after it goes through the decorticator and I wet process it, I'm going to comb it and I'm going to have fiber. But the problem is, we cannot use that fiber. Because you as spinners, and they are the people that we have to work with to create yarn. Yarn is created by spinners. They will not work with hemp fiber. And we can't tell them to work with it. For God's sake, we're not big. It's not like, it's not like I'm General Motors and I'm telling the spinner that I want them to do this. We have to do what they want. And what they want is for us to provide them with sliver. Where did that sliver go? Oh, I have it here. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm really bad at this, in case you didn't notice. You have to remember these people have been in the textile industry for years and years and years and years, and they have been decimated. So they had to survive, and we asked them to do something new, and how can they do it? So if you look at the different areas of how you process yarn, it's really interesting. Each of them has a commonality. And if you look at it, it's carding. No matter what system you use in the textile production industry, you card the fiber. The result of a card is sliver. This is sliver. What happens after the sliver is produced, you take the two pieces of sliver and you mix them together. And that is how you get yarn. The kind of yarn we want to make, okay? So basically, this is what we have to produce. We have to produce sliver. But we cannot produce that in the United States because we have no facilities that will do it. And if we don't have the facility to do it, how are we going to give them sliver to make yarn, to make textiles? Here's a couple answers. Not everybody knows what carding is. Carding is it goes through this big machine and has pins in it, and it cleans out the fiber, and eventually it goes down into this little, like I call it a little thing, and it makes sliver that I call slithering, because it looks like snake when it comes out. And saliva, that's what saliva looks like. And when saliva comes out of the bass processing, or even from any card, but when it comes out, they put it in what they call sliver cans. And those cans go under the machines, and they actually go to the spinning machine when you get ready to spin. And that's a spinning machine. That's how you spin. And the yarn comes out down there. That's the yarn, okay? And spinning is the last process in yarn manufacturing. After that, it becomes different things. So, the market opportunity does exist. Maybe not today, but it is there. Consumer awareness of environmental issues at an all-time high. Young people today want to support natural textiles. They want to buy things that are eco-friendly. They believe in the planet. The Reshoring Institute, I don't know if you know what that is, but there was a Reshoring Act initiated, and what it said was that you would bring your products back to the United States, and you would get credits for that, okay? What they found out is that most Americans prefer to buy made in the USA. What does that tell us? Lastly, the revitalization of the textile industry is important. Do you know that the textile industry supported the United States of America for many, many years? We decimated it because we sent everything over to China because it was cheaper. Okay, it was cheaper. But what did we do to the United States in a total industry? All these people were put out of work. There are a lot of things that we can do to help that happen, to help regrow it. Interestingly enough, I didn't probably put this in here. Okay, the Berry Amendment. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Berry Amendment. The Berry Amendment is a amendment that was initiated by the Department of Defense. And it says that their funds are appropriated or otherwise available, cannot be used by the DoD to procure food, clothing, tents, textiles, or other hand tools unless those items are grown, reprocessed, reused, or produced in the United States. How about that? The last time I looked and I got a defense logistic PowerPoint, they have $17 billion to spend. Think about that. What is our commitment? Well, we need to determine if we are going to be committed to sustainable textiles through the processes we use. Are we going to say, okay, we're going to produce what you need, and then we're going to create yarn, and we're going to make textiles? Are we going to meet requirements of the people that we need? That is up to us. We have to decide that ourselves. So the question is, are we willing to financially invest to acquire the production equipment to produce the bast fiber that spinners require to create yarn? But more importantly, even though we have the equipment, are we willing to spend the time together for continued research as a collaborative effort? We have to do this together. We have to create prototypes. We have to identify methodologies. We have to do the market research so it creates an environment for lots of people in lots of different areas of employment. Do we really, are we ready to take advantage to reap the benefits of this intoxicating opportunity? To paraphrase Shakespeare, to do or not to do, that is the question. I do have a slide in here if anybody is interested later that explains how bast fiber processing can be done in the United States. There is a company called NSC Schlumberger. They are in Fort Mill, South Carolina. They have bast fiber processing equipment. It shows you exactly how you go through this process. You can purchase this in modules, but as you can see on the left side, that's the farming side. Okay, I have this slide if anybody wants it. And then it shows you how you process it. And as you can see, there's a card, and there's things called chain gills, which shake things, and the little short fibers come out. And then it goes through all of that, and then it goes to combing, which then produces a lustrous fiber. It's sort of like combing your hair. Like this young lady over here with the white shirt, she has long hair. So when she combs her hair, it probably looks really pretty because it gets lustrous. That's just the way it goes when you brush anything, it gets like that. After that, it goes to the chain gills, and then it can go either to be spun on either side. But it's really interesting that all of these things can happen. We just have to get together. And we have to be able to convince people who want to put money into the hemp industry that the hemp industry is way beyond one product. So together, we can create a new generation of natural blended fibers that meet our goal to develop a consistent process to produce fast fiber blended yarns, and while enabling economic growth through the entire USA supply chain. I mean, from the people who develop the seeds, to the farmers, to the sheep ranchers, to the processors, to the people who do the degumming, who do the bast fiber, and who do the spinning, and then who we sell these yarns to so that they can make textiles. Okay, I hope I'm doing this right. This is a video. Am I doing this right? You got me? You're going to play it? This is a great video. It's from England. It's from a company called Chimera. It's just really cute, and I always show it because I love it. It has sound, so I hope it plays. Is it going to play? There it goes. It was from Chimera Fabrics, their company in England. Thank you.
That concludes Susan's presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Does
Please
anybody
raise
have
your
any
hand.
questions? No? Well, you're all invited to come and feel the yarn. And this is our little SHEMP mascot. We do sell him online. We're trying to raise more money for our company. My husband's tired of cashing in his CDs. So and he's standing in the back of the room, walking around thinking, oh God, how much longer are we going to do this? But we are going to do it. And I thank you all for listening. And I am enthusiastic about this. And I hope you will all join me.
Told you there was some energy in that one. Tough act to follow, sandwiched between two powerhouses here, Lawrence. So let's see what you got here for us. Developing a sustainable future for industrial hemp fabric and products. And if you wouldn't mind, please just overview the word sustainable. I've heard it maybe in 5 different possible interpretations. So what does sustainable sort of define?
You want me to define sustainable?
Please.
All right. All right, we'll say this forward. All right, well, hello, everyone. I hope to be a lot more energy in the room, and one of the reasons why I got into hemp was I knew and I figured about hemp's potential. That was actually all the way back in 1990. So I've been in the hemp industry for quite a long time, and it's been a very slow move or a slow go, but we're always a little bit further and a little bit farther than ever before. And I hope to be able to, with this presentation, to get you all excited again, because you're really going to see in this presentation what the potential for hemp really is. Sustainable, people were asking just right now, what does it mean? Well, it basically means that it's not something that's going to run out. It's something that's we're going to be able to do forever and ever, and it's not going to deplete either the soil or the planet or the environment or the people or the energy. And basically, I think we're all here because we all have a feeling about the sustainability of hemp, and I think many times it is kind of self-explanatory, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the potential. All right, so I got into hemp because I wanted to grow it for fiber, because I do believe that the fiber is the most valuable part of the hemp plant. We can get a lot more from fiber than we can from any of the other products, and it's going to require a lot more hemp to be grown for fiber than either flower or for grain. All right, so what are we going to get out of the fiber? Well, of course, textiles, that's my main business. We have over now 100 different hemp textiles that we sell, from 100% to hemp blends, knits, wovens, for uses from apparel to home furnishings to accessories. Building materials, I'm sure you're all familiar with things like hempcrete, hemp particle board, hemp composites. And hemp fiber really is going to be the source for all of these things. But the real question is, why are we not growing a lot of hemp here? What's going on? Why is it taking so long? Why are we not growing enough in the United States? All right, well, the main reason is in order to grow hemp, you need the farmer. You need the farmer as a partner. Farmer's going to want to have to grow it. And what is it going to be to convince farmers to grow hemp for fiber? Well, basically, farmers are going to need a market to sell their products. Farmers, very important, have to earn a profit. No one's going to work for free. So we've got to take that into account. They're not going to do it just because they like the environment or they like hemp. All right, so the question is, are there markets for this hemp fiber? Well, the hemp fiber market is kind of small right now if we were to compare it to cotton or flax as a plant fiber, and even to wool. It's actually very small, but it is something that has been growing. In the US, we were talking about we don't have much of a textile market here right now. So the idea is if we're going to have hemp fibers for textiles, it might be the ability to grow it here for export to other countries. This is not an unheard of proposition. In fact, we grow a lot of products here and export it to other countries, from corn, soy, and cotton. Hemp can fit right in there and become a very big product. And then, of course, we're going to have lower quality fibers, which would be poor quality grown or hemp fiber from a grain crop, would be used for industrial uses within the United States, things that would not be imported. So we can do both. We can really develop this industry. All right. So how does a farmer earn more money? Well, more lucrative markets, of course, textiles, higher quality of the fiber that they are growing. That is, you have to have a good quality fiber in order to make it work. And then, of course, greater yields of that fiber. Now, it's important, some people come to me and they say they want to grow hemp for everything. They're saying, oh, we're going to grow it for grain, we're going to have the fiber, we're going to grow it for fabric, we're going to have the fiber. Well, all of that's somewhat possible. If you want the highest quality hemp fiber, you're going to have to grow it for fiber. All right? What happens when you grow for fiber, you're going to get 6 to 8, maybe even 10 times the amount of fiber per acre that you're going to get if you were growing it for grain or for flour. If you let the plants go to flower or to seed, the quality of that fiber is going to diminish. What basically happens are the plants, basically when they begin to flower, they begin to die near the bottom. All the energy is put into the top where the flowers are going, and the fibers at the bottom tend to get a lot more woody, and they lose their quality, especially for textiles. So, if you want a high yield of good quality fiber, you have to grow for fiber. That has to be your primary purpose. All right, another good reason to get a higher yield is you're going to lower the cost of that fiber. Usually farmers need to earn a particular amount per acre, and if you can get a lot more fiber, that means it can technically be sold at a lower rate. When you can get it at a lower rate, then this allows the products that you make out of it to be a lot lower, which of course, that will start increasing the demand. When you increase the demand, you're going to have to grow a lot more hemp. When you start growing a lot more hemp, you're going to get the hemp fiber even lower. So it's going to be a self-fulfilling loop as we move forward. Of course, you can see the fiber, herds, rope, yarn, textiles, and fabric and twine. All right, so how does a farmer get the greatest yields? I'm going to touch a little bit along what Melissa was saying earlier. Of course, the location. If you have a longer growing season for the fiber, the plants are going to be able to grow taller. Very important, the proper strain, and that is you need a fiber variety. Melissa also mentioned that some of the ASOCA certified varieties are not the best. What we grew were not certified, and we had incredible results, as you can see by some of these pictures. Of course, proper latitude. You can have a southern latitude variety and you plant it north, but if you have a variety that's meant for a far north and you bring it south, what usually happens is it ends up flowering right away. It will grow about 1 month and then begin to flower, and that's just not going to work for fiber at all. Proper soil. You need, basically, if you can grow corn and cotton, as a rule of thumb, you can probably get hemp. The planting date. We grew in California. Florida's going to be the same. You don't have the problem of frost here. Frost will kill a hemp plant, especially when they're little. So we were able to get our plants in the ground on March 5th last year that we grew. And you'll see the result in a little bit. I have a feeling Florida could also grow very early as well. The density of the planting. In order to get a really good fiber crop, you have to have a lot of plants. They were talking earlier about the actual number of plants per acre, but that's generally not how people do it. It's basically pound of seed per acre. We found for fiber, you're going to want to have a minimum of about 75 pounds per acre. Of course, you need the right water and the right nutrients, which we're also talking about earlier this morning. All right, location. You want to grow, obviously, where hemp can be grown. You want the availability of water. You want, as I mentioned, the latitude low enough so you have an early spring, but high enough so that you're going to have a longer summer day. That's very important. The more hours in the day, the more sunlight, the taller it's going to grow. And then also very important, if you're growing for fiber, you want a processing facility, I'm saying within 50 miles. Melissa mentioned earlier, you can't ship raw hemp bales very far. The cost of shipping is just going to be too much. Within 50 miles will probably work. All right, the fiber variety, as I mentioned earlier, you want the variety for fiber that's at the proper latitude, and that there is no such thing as a dual crop or a tri-crop. You have to grow it for fiber, not for grain or for flour. All right, planting methods and density. We use a seed drill. That seemed to work best. A shallow planting was recommended at about 1/2 inch depth, 75 to 100 pounds per acre or higher. And then one interesting thing we found out that I did not know when we grew last year is that the hemp plants don't mind growing right next to each other. Our rows were 7 inches apart, and that was due to the machinery that we used. And what we found that the hemp plants along that row could literally grow right next to each other. In fact, even practically on top of each other. So to get a higher yield, if you can get a seed drill that has a narrower planting rows, even 2 to 4 inches. Ours was 7, but if you find one and do 2 to 4, that's going to work just as well. In fact, even better when you do it. All right. Hemp plants do require plenty of moisture. Some people out there will say, oh, it requires less. Now, you do need a lot of water to do it. When we grew, we actually used a drip irrigation system out in California. We did not rely on the rain. There's not enough rain out there to grow, but we have plenty of well water, and we have water from the rivers and the snow that melts in the mountains up there. We measured it very accurately, and as far as I know, this was the very first measurement of water required for hemp that I've ever actually seen done anywhere. And what we found out is that it required 18 to 19 inches of water per acre, or 1.6 acre foot. If you're growing where there's a lot of rain, this would equate to about 5 inches per month. One thing that we found, and that is some people will say that cotton uses less water than hemp. We found out that that's true, but it's not a third of the water, it's not a quarter, it's not a half. We found that hemp uses about 20% less water than cotton, and that's the accurate. Where we grew the hemp was the exact spot next to where they were growing cotton, and we were able to use the exact same metrics with the drip irrigation system to determine what we would need. All right, we did a harvest in late August and early September, actually prior to any flowering. And as I mentioned, if you harvest prior to flowering, then you get a much better quality of fiber. But the actual date can depend on the latitude and the strain that you're doing. Most of the growth of the hemp plant is in the spring and early summer. As we began to get to late summer, we noticed that the growing slowed down a little bit. All right, now, I want you to take a look. This is the potential for hemp. You can actually see, when we talk about hemp grows more fiber than any other plant, this is hemp. These were plants that were planted in March 5th, and these pictures were taken in early September, right there. So it's about 4 or 5 months right there, 5, I think, when you do the math. We have the world record for the world's tallest hemp plant. And this is, by the way, my first time ever growing, which amazed me. I actually was thinking we would only get about 14 feet. That tall plant there was 24 feet tall. When we harvested it, and we did submit it to the Guinness Book of World Records. And on average, the plants were about 15 to 20 feet tall. And this, I want to give people hope, at this point. You hear about all the difficulties, all the hard things about hemp, but I got into hemp for this reason right here. You can get more biomass, more fiber from hemp than any other crop, and I think these pictures ought to prove it. But don't take my word for it. We actually harvested it and measured it and weighed it. And so, of course, what was the yield? And I hope you can see this. I recommend you guys take a picture. Okay, the chart on the left was Riverdale hemp. We grew it in Riverdale, California, versus the historic yield. The historic yield was what I got off of papers that were written by the U.S. Department of Agriculture way back in the 1930s and 40s on growing hemp. And this is what they were getting. So you can see in the historic yield, the green hemp plants was about 35,000 pounds per acre. We averaged, our low yield was 47,000 pounds, and our high yield was 55,000 pounds that we got there. And Melissa also showed a little graph showing hemp, or showing corn, what it was like growing from like the 1850s to about the 1940s. And then you saw after the 1940s it began to go up, 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 up. And that's a result of selective breeding, possibly genetic modification, better growing habits. This is what we're getting on seeds that came from China that have had none of that. So if we were to apply modern methods, we're going to get even higher right here. Of course, I went all the way down. You get herd and fiber once you dry it out, or I would say the dry unredded stems, that's kind of what a farmer would get. That would be like what a bale of hemp would be after it's all been dried. The historic yield, about 9,363 pounds per acre. On our low yield, we got 12,415 pounds per acre, and the high yield was 14,580 pounds per acre. So we got quite a lot. And then you can see that is broken down into hurd and basset fiber. Now, if we go to the chart on the right, I do compare hemp to flax and cotton. You know, where are we? How does it compare? And so we use our yield, yield number row. We had different rows, so we had row number 2, number 3, and then the average of rows 5 through 8. You can see what we got. Now, for flax is probably the plant that's most closely related to hemp in terms of you can get flax seed and you can get flax fiber. Versus with hemp, you also get the hemp seed and you get the hemp fiber. Notice with flax, which only grows about 3 feet tall, they were getting about 1,300 pounds of dry and rooted stems per acre, where we were getting, you know, between about 12,000 and 14,000 pounds per acre. Quite a bit more of fiber per acre from hemp, a lot more. Hemp should be cheaper than flax. We're not there yet, but this is to show you what the potential really is. For textiles, all we would have to do is be 1 penny cheaper than flax per pound. Everyone who buys flax would switch to hemp because it's that similar of a textile. You all, in a fabric, you almost can't tell them apart. And the flax industry is huge compared to hemp. We can just get it a little lower, we'd be able to do have basically a huge leap in the amount of hemp that would be desired. And then I also wanted to compare it to cotton. Now, cotton is a little bit different. The fiber from cotton, as you know, comes from the flower of the plant. And the main difference, cotton is an excellent fiber because every fiber is separated from one another. So they're just kind of individual, which makes it very easy to work with it and turn it into a yarn, comb it, turn it into a yarn, and then, of course, turn it into a fabric. Where hemp fibers are a little bit different. They are not separate. They're all kind of glued together. They're being held together by lignin. So you need an extra step with hemp where they have to delignify the hemp, or remove the lignin from it. Usually they do it by boiling it in sodium hydroxide. That will separate the fiber from each other. Then you're able to use it into a textile. Flax is the same way. But what you get is on the highest cotton yields, you're getting about 900 pounds of fiber per acre from cotton. And that's the tow fiber. I compare it to hemp tow fiber because cotton fibers are shorter than hemp fibers. But with hemp, we're getting about 554 pounds of tow fiber per acre. In addition, though, we're getting 1,940 pounds of line fiber, which is the long fiber, and what we're getting, which cotton doesn't have, we're getting 2,495 pounds of hurd right there. So imagine with all of that, how much more raw materials that we're getting out of hemp than what we can get out of cotton or flax. So as we all know, we're all here because the potential is there. And I'm hoping that this, my presentation today is to inspire you. You know, we need it to happen, but it is going to happen because the potential's all right there. And now I'll talk a little bit about how we were harvesting it. Harvesting taking place prior to flowering. And what we found is that first you get the male flowers, and then about 2 to 3 weeks later you get the female flowers. Again, we harvested in late August, early September. The plant started showing male flowers about the 2nd to 3rd week of September. All right, baling. Melissa mentioned on her processor they needed round bales. Where we grew it, we actually needed square bales, because what we did was we took that bale and we brought it to a cotton gin. And we converted the cotton gin to be able to cornicate the hemp. So it's really going to depend on your processor as to which type of bale that you're going to make. Both machines exist already. There's machines that can harvest and put it in a square, machines that will harvest and put it in a round bale. That is not going to require hardly any investment on our part here. These machines exist and are already out there being used. All right, the decortication process, the value of the hemp stalks is low if you're just looking at it as like a hemp straw, which would be just the whole stalk. If you're able to separate them, though, the decortication part, then the value goes up quite a bit. But when you do separate it, if any of you potential farmers out here are looking for equipment that will do the decortication, be aware, you want somebody who has a machine that can get at least 99.9% separation. If somebody comes at you and tells you and brags that they're getting 95% separation or 97% separation, it's not going to be worth it. You don't want that herd in the mass fiber. You don't want that mass fiber in the herd. You need it very separated. If you try to run those further on, especially with the textiles, it's just going to break the machine, jam it up, and then people aren't going to want to work with you anymore. If you're growing for textiles, as Melissa's machine would do, at least the people we're working with, their machinery is meant for flax. So they are using plants that were about 3 feet tall or about 36 inches. So you're going to want, for a textile grade fiber, you're going to want to get long fiber strips that are at least 36 inches or a little bit longer than that. That way it can go into the existing machinery. There's not much more they have to do to it. They can take it as is right from the processing plant. Let me see here. And then, of course, for herd, you're going to want the herd to be uniform in size, and you're going to want it to be clean and free from any dust or debris. That way it will work very well for making hempcrete, hemp particle board, or as a filler for plastics. All right, there is another alternative method for decortication, and that is referred to as green decortication. The earlier methods I mentioned basically meant chopping down the hemp, drying it out, baling it, and then bringing it to a facility. But what is out there is something called green decortication. And that is where you have a system that's put on a tractor and can actually go through the field, chop down the hemp, and decorticate it all at one time. I have seen it. It's being developed by at least 2 or 3 companies are working on it right now, and there's going to be a benefit for that. If they can do it right and get that 99.9% separation, that will be the better method, because it will allow for one machine to be moved to different fields. It can be brought around, and the fiber on the hemp stalk, it's almost like a label on a bottle of beer. When it's wet, it easily slides off. When it dries, the chemicals in it turn into like glue and they harden, and it makes it a lot more difficult. But when green, you can actually separate it with your finger. It requires very little effort to do it. And I do believe that having possibly a farm co-op, you could have one tractor with a green decorticator come around and decorticate all the farmers' crops in a particular area, and then the farmer will be the one to get the higher value for separated herd and separated fiber. It won't necessarily have to be a separate decortication facility. And of course, hemp, good for the farmer, good for the environment, and good for the planet. And if you want more information, my company, Hemp Traders, I've written an entire paper on our growing and processing that we did last year in Riverdale, California. That's available as a free download from our webpage, hemptraders.com. And I also sell the hemp seeds that grew the world's tallest hemp plant. We have those available now if anybody is interested in purchasing it from us. And that is it.
Any questions from the group?
Yes.
I have 2 questions. For the bales that you're making for the square and for the round, is hay equipment being used to make those?
Yes, we use the exact, there was the same equipment that was used to bale hay or barley or alfalfa, whatever. It was the exact same equipment. They just ran it a little slower because they were a little nervous, but did not seem to pose any sort of problem whatsoever for them. Not that I was aware of, and I was there the day when they did it. We have video of it, and I talked to the guy. He slowed it down because he was worried that if not done right, the fibers may wrap somewhere, and that would be a problem. But that never happened, and it all worked.
Can you ask that? I want to get this on.
Yes, sir. So the question was the square bales and the round bales of fiber done with a hay baler and roller?
Yes, we used ours produced square bales because that was the equipment that was available. But as you can see, what Melissa did used the round bales, and that worked just as fine.
My second question is, with the green hemp fiber extraction attachment on the tractor, how are they going to get it out of the field once it's been decodicated?
Well, what happens is you use a sickle bar to actually cut down the hemp. So that's kind of near the front on the top. Any sickle bar will work. No problem there. That equipment, again, that exists and it works beautifully. Then you have a contraption that will pull it in and it will bring it through. And then you would have it kind of will pop out a little hose along the top. And they have another, like a bin that's running right alongside of it, and it's just capturing all the separated herd and fiber. Or you could even leave the fiber on the ground and then have another machine pick it up where you're capturing the herd. So you can either capture it both separately, possibly have one bin on one side and another bin on the other as that machine is going through the field.
You had a question? Yeah. Hang on one second.
Oh, and by the way, I have video. If you go to we have a YouTube video page, Hemp Traders YouTube. We have video of all of this being done if you want to take a look at it.
Hi, I was just wondering, what did you end up doing with all the hemp that you harvested?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What did you end up doing with all the hemp that you harvested?
We actually took it to the cotton gin, and where we were able to decordicate it at the gin. And the herd we've sold for particle board or for animal bedding and for making hempcrete. And then the basset fiber, I'm sending all of that off to China, where they're going to be able to make textiles out of it, or they're going to be trying to make textiles out of it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Lawrence. It's amazing that this one plant has so many uses. It's as if nature had this grandiose idea. This plant might give us so many things. But ultimately, that plant does go through a process, and with the economics of it, the last mile is who's going to buy it. So all the investment in this production and this growing and everything else, it does come down to the retail side, or on the banking side, that's a little larger. But to prep up for Catherine here, the challenges you've heard today with pesticides and different growth things, there's challenges in the economy side of it. And the strangest thing is that you may not know exactly how to navigate that. So whenever there's the discussion of how to enter a market, you want to hire a consultant or hire a pro because they're going to help you save money, avoid the challenges, and then get a faster turn to market. That brings me to a perfect introduction to Catherine, who is a pro at helping your hemp company figure out and navigate your go-to-market strategy, because unlike a pickle stand, you can't just say these pickles are good and will help you get a good night's sleep. There's challenges to what comes natural, and again, Catherine will help you. So please listen to this, take great notes, and if you are going to start a hemp company anytime soon, please check with her.
Good afternoon. It is my honor and pleasure to be here today. My name is Catherine Zito, and I'm the CEO of Cannabis Business Solutions. Today we're going to be talking about a significant and exciting and very trending market, so that when you go out, whether you are a startup business or whether you are mature or whether you want to sell your business, you're still having to do the marketing. And so this material today will apply to all of those different stages that you might be in. We will also be talking just briefly about payment processing and banking, because these elements are the foundation of your business. So when you are going out there into the market, or whether you might be looking for funding, these elements have to be in place. Otherwise, people won't take you serious. And these are just foundation items. These are nothing more if you were to start any other business in any other industry. Okay, so they apply to all just like they would there. I'd love to share with you a group that I started about 6 years ago called the Cannabis Entrepreneurs and Investors Meetup. And I'd love to invite you for free to join. We went national in January because it's grown now. It's been an organic, beautiful journey, because it is based on education and networking, because people do business with friends. So you can't do this from inside your office. If you're planning on being in the industry, you need to get out a little bit, network, educate constantly. It never ends. Which keeps it very exciting. We now have a little over 3,200, and I think as of this morning, 47 members. And so we do in-person events now, and we also do webinars from tremendous organizations that can help you with your business. I'd like to talk about first the global industrial hemp sales and revenue. We are at a market value of $4.9 billion. This was in 2019. So now look at the sales projections. $18.6 billion by 2027. The growth of 22.4% for hemp, this is tremendous. Now, you have heard about all these different applications, and you can see them as well because it comes from the sativa plant. And you'll see everything from hemp seed, oil fiber, textiles, which have been mentioned, composites, biofuels, food and beverage. And in addition to clothing, one of the biggest markets that's happening is for personal care products, specifically skincare. Fantastic. You're going to see these margins really jump in the next few years. I do want to chat briefly about CBD and Delta-8, the revenue and sales, which are now they're combining these sales, where before we didn't really have the numbers for Delta-8, and now coming on the scene is Delta-10. But the CBD revenue, $7.8 billion this year, and then we plan to see this estimates growing to $8.3 billion by 2025. Now, this is a mature market. You see CBD everywhere, e-commerce, retail sales. So this is a good indication of where the rest of the industry can go. It's a very, very good example. Something very important also is if you are selling CBD and you're looking at these as your nutritional supplements for many different medical conditions, your target market, 31% of your market, your customers are between the ages of 35 to 49 years old. 22% of your market is between the ages of 22 to 35 years old. And then same 22%, 50 to 64 years old. Well, I don't know many industries that are going to reach people all the way from 22 to 60 plus. You have a very, very wide market, and this means opportunity. Now, we have to remember our furry friends, because when we look at the numbers for the US CBD pet market, the sales are forecasting $4.79 billion in 2028. Well, after I studied this for a while and you start to do some comparisons with this material and these numbers, eventually the pet sales will be closer to 50% of this particular market. That just goes to show you, diversify what you are selling. Don't just think about the adults and people with medical conditions. Think about also the entire family, including their pets. We're going to go into keywords, which is also considered SEO, search engine optimization. These words will be going in all of your marketing and social media. You want to be able to choreograph and weave the words into your material, whether it be a blog, whether it be a print ad, whether it be in your pitch deck. They are crucial for obtaining the right person, the right client, the right investor, and I'm going to explain how you can do that very easily. Hashtags, everybody's talking about those. So we have, for instance, here's an example, hashtag buy hemp oil. So when you are promoting something on social media or in your, let's just say social media specifically, after you publish your promotion, at the very bottom, always tag it with a hashtag and these keywords. Generally speaking, if you use more than 2 or 3 keywords, they're called long tail keywords. They will give you more traffic. They will drive a better quality of traffic to you. You don't need people coming to your website or your social media just doing research. You want to attract customers and investors. Google AdWords a few years ago, unfortunately, roadblocked us, and we are not permitted to purchase AdWords in any way. We cannot purchase the word Delta, CBD, cannabis, marijuana, even gummies. Will this change? I believe it will change as the industry matures and our federal government matures in this way. But for now, this means you have to do this organically. And it's easy to be done. It won't cost you anything. If you can't write or if you're not comfortable with writing your campaigns, then it's very affordable to hire other people to help you build your business. Now, Google rankings, since you can't buy AdWords, you have to get there again organically, which means you have to be fresh. Google loves fresh content. So whatever you posted a year ago, you'll be on the second page. Somebody else who's more active with telling them their message, they're going to be on first page Google, which is where you want to be at the top. I often say blog, and blog often, and use your keywords, because that's how you get out there and stay relevant. Your company, your brand, regardless of where you're at in this, you have to keep doing it. So let's go into some of the hemp really hot keywords. These are, nothing here is more than a week old, very fresh. If we look at buy hemp and we see 70.7 million searches on Google a month, those numbers are staggering. Just even from last year and the year before, we never saw these kinds of numbers. However, when you're using these keywords for your marketing, digital or print, the bigger number doesn't mean it's better. What would be better for you in your marketing would be buy hemp oil. Now, even though you see there's 46 million searches a month, that is a lot of people, a lot of customers. We used to, a couple years ago, use the word shop for everything. We'd put shop in front of everything that we wanted to buy. But we don't use that word as much anymore. The consumer is using the word buy in front of all your keywords. So this will bring you more quality, people who are ready to shop and spend money with you. When we go to see industrial hemp, this wasn't even remotely anywhere in my research. I've been doing this now, national speaking on business development, for 7 years. Never saw it. So I can't tell you how happy I was to see industrial hemp in close to 40 million searches a month. Now, industrial hemp means a lot of things, and people will start looking for that material because they're researching it. They're just trying to gather information. That's not for a merchant. The merchants want to use words like buy hemp seeds, which is above fiber and oil. I find that completely fascinating. Buy hemp seeds, 33 million searches a month. You've got a business. Buy hemp fiber, over 22 million searches a month. Hemp oil for sale, 21 million. And buy bulk hemp, 17. So if you're a manufacturer and you want to wholesale the product, then you want to put in your writing, buy bulk hemp. We're going to do a second page on hemp because it's so important, and there are so many more keywords now. So we have buy industrial hemp. What does that do? That separates you from the other markets that you're not in. So don't use those words. Tell people what you are, what you do, what are the benefits. That's what they want to hear. So we have buy industrial hemp at over 15 million searches a month. Industrial hemp manufacturers. This was astonishing to me, at over 13 million a month. That just goes to show you people are looking for it, they want to buy it. Industrial hemp processors, a little over 6 million, and we, start going down, bulk hemp oil for sale. Now, even though you see a small number here at 1.3 million next to certified commercial hemp growers, you might say to yourself, well, it's just 1 million searches a month. And this is, by the way, this is just the United States. If that's what you do, then you're going to be attracting that market to you. So don't look at the numbers so much. Think about the concept of creating the words that you need to build around your marketing program. Now, by hemp herd and also hempcrete, you see these numbers in just the hundreds of thousands. This will significantly change next year and the year after. Hemp is a long-term investment where CBD might be something where somebody could get in, build a business, and sell it pretty quickly right now. It's a hot commodity. We're not quite there yet, but we will be there, and you will see the improvement. I put in CBD so that you could have some comparison, and this is a teaching model for me. Buy CBD with over 206 million searches a month. Fantastic. Now, what we want to do is we want to break it down, get a little bit more specific, and that would be CBD for sale, buy CBD oil at 113 million searches a month. We used to say the word tinctures. Well, we don't say it anymore. Not this year, anyways. So when you are, thinking about your marketing, and you used to say, about our, fantastic oil tinctures, we're not saying it anymore. We understand what that means. We know that oil means tinctures. And you can see it drops significantly when you do add the word tinctures to 5.5 million. So why don't even bother using it? It'll bring your numbers down. Buy CBD cream is taking the industry by storm. Topicals, people just love them. Now, I have broken this down to show you that Buy CBD cream is at 79 million searches a month. But what you're doing is, if you're not selling cream and you're selling gel or balm, then you want to be able to use those words. Because if people want cream and you put cream in, but you're not selling it because you're selling a gel or maybe a twist balm, they will jump off of your page, your website, very quickly if they don't find what they're looking for. Now, what happens when that happens and they jump, Google is watching, and they know that within so many seconds, if they jump off your page, it's kind of getting a little bit of a black eye. So you want to be able to say what you do and be of great quality, all right? So we don't need to use other words that don't apply to our business. As you can see down there, topicals and salve. So it's nice to break them down. Be specific. Buy CBD skincare, over 52 million searches a month. And then one of the top growing areas of this industry is beverages. Now, before we used to say CBD beverages. We were very polished when we used that word. Now we're saying drink. Sports drink. That's the words we use. That's what we're comfortable with, and that's what people are searching for. So you'll see over 37 million searches. Now, in that case, you may also want to add buy CBD sports drink beverages. That's okay. It may not make a lot of sense to you, but when it comes to the internet and it comes to algorithms and it comes to driving traffic, you will benefit. Even when we see that we get a little less, 29 million searches a month on just buy CBD drink, omitting the word sports. Keep an eye on this area because it is all over the world, and Canada has shown us this as well. The numbers are staggering for beverages. We get into the vapes and things like that. We're at over 26 million searches by CBD vape a month. Next in line, the next most popular are edibles, then gummies. See, before we never even said the word edibles. 2 years ago, you never talked to anyone say, oh, you got any edibles? They would say gummies, but that's not as popular anymore. Okay, so we have edibles now is in second place, gummies are in third place, capsules, over 12 million searches a month, and CBD pet treats, okay, not pet products, but use the word treats, over 8 million searches a month. Now, if you want to be even more dynamic with your marketing, then add some of the medical conditions next to your keywords. For instance, CBD pet treats for cancer, dog anxiety. Your marketing will be more powerful this way. And then there's always the surprise. Every time I do this research, I take about 20 hours to prepare this presentation for you, and I'm always fascinated. And Delta 10 actually really, really surprised me. By Delta 10 now has 2.1 billion searches a month. We don't even half the people don't even know what it is yet, and it's already, as you can see, a very popular product. If it's broken down into vape juice, that would be the next most popular at over 78 million searches a month. Then flour, by Delta 10 gummies, then by Delta 10 edibles, etc. When we go to Delta 8, which was extremely popular in this last year, we're at 26.6 million searches a month. Edibles are definitely at the top of the list, very mature word, but people are getting used to it. Delta 8 edibles, and then you'll see buy Delta 8 edibles. When you put that word buy in front of your keywords, even though you see the numbers significantly drop, you will be qualifying the customer, the person searching for it. They are ready to buy from you. Now you see, when we say buy at 4 million searches a month, if you were to replace that word with shop, it's half the amount of searches, just by changing one word. So be very careful. Be very careful here. Delta 8 gummies, and then shop Delta 8 gummies. Now, it's funny. They're pretty much all together, but gummies, plural, gets more searches than the singular gummy, significantly. So you'll definitely want to use the plural of gummies when you're writing. And Delta H THC. Now, last year you would see the word THC or the initials in the acronym after the delta. As you can see by the numbers and the research, that is fading away, okay? It's almost like a negative, frankly. And when you see the payment processing and banking side, it's really negative to underwriters. They don't get our world, and we're not here to teach them. We're just here to get open accounts and make our businesses stronger. Then we have Delta 8 THC gummies for sale near me. You can use those tag words. You don't have to, don't worry about that if you're not on a map. You can still use those words, and you will pop up on Google first page. Then we have Delta 8 Vape and Buy Delta 8 Vape. So if you're thinking about this particular part of the industry, there you go. It's viable. We're going to continue, and then if you have marketing questions, we'll take them at the end, and then if not, I'll provide my contact information, and you're more than welcome to contact me. We do free consultations, and so it's very, very simple. We're all friends in this industry, and hopefully we'll get to see you from year to year, because it's wonderful when you come to conferences and you start to get to know people. You may not see them for a year, but they have grown, and you can share what you're doing and exchange information and constantly give to one another. And that's how this works. The credit card processing and banking in-store or online for hemp, CBD, the Delta strains, and cannabis. Now, if you are, again, a startup or you want to expand your business and you're looking for funding and investors, if you have your financial division secured and smart and easy to understand, they will think more highly of you. Absolutely, perception is very important here because they know you've already done your homework, you've already been through some of the hard stuff, just like you would open up any other kind of business. Specifically, we have different departments that get different things in different rates. So if you are hemp in the hemp, CBD, Delta 8, and 10, believe it or not, it's all one category right now. It may not be this in the future, but for today. This means that if you are a retail store operator or you are an e-commerce merchant, your rate will be it'll be 3% plus 15 cents per transaction. Now, e-commerce is a little higher because we have higher risk. Because the credit card or the debit card is not present, that's what makes it higher risk. So that changes a bit. We go to 3.5% plus 15 cents per transaction. Right now, they are holding back 5% of your revenue for, it might be 30 days, 60 days, just in case there are chargebacks. They've seen it, it's happening, otherwise they wouldn't be putting these guidelines in place. Before I go into the next one, I want to talk about Square for a moment, and it was mentioned in previous presentations. Just about every week, we get calls from people using Square. They have not been notified in advance by saying Square is going to shut you down for whatever reason. You don't get a letter, you don't get an email or a call. You're just shut down. And it's shocking and nerve-wracking, and it can literally really take a toll on your business if your customers are used to it, because you have to go offline now. You got to figure it another way. In this case, once you are with a viable cannabis-friendly bank, which we know 5 in the country, and with branches everywhere, so if you don't have a bank account yet and you need cannabis-friendly, please contact me. I'll be happy to give you a name to follow up on. So this next line is a compliance fee. This came onto the scene last year. There are so many great merchants out there who sell CBD and who sell hemp and Delta who are doing the right things. And there are some who have not, and they tend to ruin it for some of the other good people. So what's happened now is to keep everybody straight and on the clean side, no gray area of selling anything that's more than 0.03% THC. The processor and the banks require, if you are doing e-commerce only, that they will bring in a third-party compliance company that can look at your website once a month. Now, it doesn't always feel that great because you don't want somebody who's, looking over your shoulder, but this will make our industry stronger, compliancy. We have to do this so that we keep out the bad and we just lift up the good people who really, really care about their patients and their families and all the benefits that hemp and CBD bring to us. That will also fall away someday when we get a little bit more stable in this area, and it might be a lower fee or it might go away. Now, what I like to do with our clients is we help them make a great application. We don't say too much, we fill in the blanks, and we just play it low key until we are asked questions. At that point, sometimes we'll step in and we'll do some little negotiating. We'll build you up. We'll tell the processor how great you are and what you believe in. And believe it or not, it adds a personal touch to a very black and white market. All accounts will be, you'll be charged $10 a month. That's just a bank statement fee. You have to do a minimum of $100 a month. And then everyone pays a PCI annual compliancy fee. This fee protects your customers' credit card data. Now, with these accounts, if you are in a retail store where that card is present and you get the lower rate, we were just running some nice promotions which gives you a free terminal with a printer, gets you going, and it comes completely loaded now. These are right off the shelf. So you have all of your banking. It comes in the mail. All you do is make sure you plug it into an electrical outlet and you have Wi-Fi. You're in business. You don't have to go through the laborious task of loading your bank information and testing and different things. It was a little, was a big learning curve, and now it's straight off the shelf. Okay, it comes to you in a box, you plug it in, and you're in business. We also will give a mobile device if you plan on doing events and festivals, or if you have trucks and you're infusing different products out there and you are mobile, then we will provide a mobile device valued at $150. And then you will always have free training and ongoing support, even on the weekends. We have a lot of companies who step out and they do their local markets, and then they run into some issues. Well, we're right there. Right on the weekend, we'll make sure we take care of that problem or figure out a solution very quickly for you. You're not alone. Now, vape. Well, this has been about 2 years now. You are only allowed to sell disposable vapes online. That means the cartridge with the battery. We are not permitted to sell individual cartridges online. So it's very, very important. If this is your thing, then you want to keep that more into the retail space, which of course you can sell things independently. But for e-commerce, we just have to be mindful it's disposables only. When we get into the medical cannabis and the adult use division, it's just a little differently. We can only offer right now debit cards, but it's better than cash. And it's a lot safer, and you can pay your bills, and you can get all kinds of different insurances and things of that nature when you have tracking, so that they can see your business, because in cash, it will not work. It may feel good. I have several clients who just love bringing in the cash every month, but that's not sustainable, not for long term anyways. And you can be shut down in a flat second, too. Now, here, the transaction fees are higher risk, 3.95% plus 35 cents per transaction. All right. No e-commerce for dispensaries or adult use at this time. You'll have the same statement fee, $10, $100, and then you'll have your PCI data protection fee a year. Right now it's at $83. This is really interesting. This is brand new, actually, this promotion for the terminal. This particular terminal is called a cellular terminal with a printer. These go for $500, and this is for in-store, and then if you want to travel and you want to go mobile, you're actually going to take the same terminal that you use in-store. This is not the same for CBD, Delta products, and in that way. There are two different machines when you get into that space. But this is pretty exciting. This just happened. And of course, you'll always have the free training and support that you need. Regardless of whether it is industrial hemp or some of the other markets I'm talking about, you will be required to provide certain documentation. This is very important, no matter what you're doing and no matter in what phase you're in at this time. But you will be asked, you must have a U.S. Social Security number. And by the way, if you have partners, they will want your partner's names and their driver's license and their Social Security numbers. They will be doing background checks. So if you have a partner that you absolutely love, but for some reason, maybe something happened back in high school and might have involved something like some time, you definitely want to have a conversation with them. You can still be in business, but you just don't want them on the application because you will not be approved, unfortunately. But there's many, many workarounds to these great partnerships. Then you have your EIN, your employer ID number, articles of incorporation or your LLC documents. Then they will require 3 months of bank statements. Now, if you don't have a bank account with 3 months of transactions, then you can provide a personal bank statement for 3 months. They're not looking to see what you're spending on, how many times you go to Starbucks. What they want to do is they want to make sure you are who you say you are. This is all about compliancy, okay? Because we're in a very gray area when it comes to banking and payment processing. And trust me when I tell you, once you get your account open and you're doing well and you're making sales, and we can see it, we see everything. Every week we see what's going on. After about 6 months, if you're doing really well, then we'll go back to the table and we'll negotiate for you. Maybe we can get you a lower fee. Maybe there's something else out there, another product that might serve your business well. And when if you are doing inventory and you're looking for a POS system, we recommend EPOS, EPOS.com. That really works very well with Authorize.net and the other processors. Authorize.net is the largest, and that is who my company works only with. Now, this is so fascinating. Startups. Because there's been so many people trying to get into this market, it's flooded an industry that was never ready to approve and take time to go through these CBD and hemp applications and dispensaries and adult use. This is very time-consuming, but the staffing and the job support is just not there for it. So to slow it down, this is what I think, is that they are asking now for startups with transactions. Well, it's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? There was a time where they only would require, if you sold CBD, they wanted to see transactions. Well, if you're a startup, where are you going to get these transactions from? And they don't want to see cash. So what they're doing now is they're allowing us to bring in new applicants. And if you, let's say you had a bakery and you had some transactions from there, they will allow it now. If you, let's say, owned a lawn business, landscaping business, and you had transactions done with debit cards or credit cards, they will allow that now. So it gives the startup business another chance. It usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks to get approved. You got to be flexible. You got to do what they say. If they say change your website or change something in your marketing, you cannot make any claims. You can show a picture of someone with a chronic back disorder or pain somewhere in the body from inflammation, but you can't say it. Can't say it in your material, even though we want to educate our patients and our customers. But that's where you do that in a different place. It might be a different website. They might come in, you might have a brochure. You might sit down with them and have a personal consult with them. There are other ways to share the information. Your job is to get these accounts open. Then as time goes on, I promise you, things will get easier, things will get better for us. But right now, we have to play the game that's at hand. Oops, excuse me. So you'll see my information at the top there. We're going to open now for Q&A. If you have any questions regarding marketing or the payment processing or banking, I'd be happy to answer those now. If you want to raise your hand, and then we can get you a microphone.
Who here has a retail hemp business but not an online hemp business?
One or two, okay.
If you have a retail business, you're already buying the product at wholesale and it's sitting in your shelf waiting for that retail transaction to come through. It's logical to sell online, but you want to be very cautious and probably separate your banking, because if you lose your online store, you don't want to lose your retail store. But that was one strategy that helped me. Was I started online and the margin challenge wasn't too challenging, you know, when the market first started. But like anything, the price drops, and then I went retail just to get higher margin, and then the client interaction was much better. And I've subsequently had my online business shut down because of telling people it might help you sleep at night, and it took months to get back on, and Catherine was helpful in me navigating that. But if you do have a retail business, seriously look at doing online as well. It's just another funnel for you, and you're already buying the inventory and, you know, building a reputation locally, so.
That's a great statement, and I will say this. Think of, if you're going e-commerce, think of you are nothing more than a shopping cart. If you just put the product there, you have to have your COAs. That's absolutely a requirement, by the way. We won't even bring an application to the underwriters if you don't have your COAs online. Now, they will allow you two different ways to post them. On one page, it might say, your navigation title might say analysis. Or reports, or something of that nature, ingredients. Or you can add it to each page if you like to do that as well. Now, this is very interesting. He's talking about this combo of retail and e-commerce. If you are thinking about that duo, if you will, it is much easier to open a retail merchant account for credit card processing first. Once we get you through there, it is so much easier to get an e-commerce account closed. Now, those will be two applications. We just kind of move information over. But it's just a little bit easier if you are retail and then potentially e-commerce. Any other questions?
I've got one for you. Adam, you mentioned about setting up two accounts, right? One for the online, one for the store. Did you set up two different processing accounts as well, or was it just one processing account, two bank accounts?
At first, I thought I was doing it just to keep my bookkeeping simple. I wanted to have an online repository for the revenue and then a retail. And then what I did learn is when you get challenged in one area, you don't want to lose everything all at once. So it became a strategic advantage to have the both separated. I know that if you were going to open a traditional business and sell shoes, you wouldn't even think about the processor not covering both, but I felt it was strategic just in case they came and shut one of them down. I didn't want to, you know, completely fall down and not have a revenue generating stream.
Smart strategy.
And that's, again, why it's helpful to work with someone like Catherine, because if you want to come into this industry and you see all this positiveness and you think, well, great, I'm going to start a business and we're going to call it hemphelpsalways.com. That'd be the first mistake, because you don't want in your name to elude that it helps or heals. My website's called hhoutlet.com. There's a women's sporting company called Helly Hansen, and I get a lot of overrun from her because people are looking for Helly Hansen outlets online somewhere. But the naming is important, the bank account, and then backup planning. You know, again, sneaker store, you probably could have the same processor for 5 years. In my 5 years of doing this, I've had 9 credit card processing companies. As many times as I would get 8 months into the processor I have, I started looking for another one, because I don't know, you might know, I don't know if it's 2 board members playing golf and they say, let's run an audit, but out of nowhere, that Square audit comes up. I don't know if it's a customer, and I didn't get a chargeback or something, but you're a sitting duck out there with an approved online merchant account, because one day, I don't know what the impetus is, but you're suspended, and then you can't call the police or the government or get any assistance.
That's right.
Square's
They won't pick up the phone. But what we do is, that's the other part of when you have somebody has your back in this industry, in whatever you're doing. We have a lot of speakers here in these over the 3 days, is they can be absolute advocates for your business. And we're all really willing to help you. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have a heart for what you want to do. And for this, we have to move this forward all together. So don't be shy about that. Pick up the phone, because I'll tell you what, when there are problems that go down behind the scenes, I get a phone call. Our merchant doesn't get a phone call. One recently, the processor called me and said, you know, this new applicant that you just put through was phenomenal. It was going to be this huge big thing. How well do you know them? And I was like, uh-oh. What happened? It was not you. But it could have been. So they don't call you, they call us, because we're going to troubleshoot that first before we it's overwhelming sometimes, you know, what they might require in the way of description or your COAs or placement or making sure you have an FDA disclaimer at the bottom of your website. So easy. They just love that. They just love that, so that you're not making these types of claims. But it's really nice when you're working with a company that you pick up the phone or you text them and you get answers very quickly, especially on the weekends when you're traveling and selling.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Hang on one sec.
I've noticed recently small businesses are you allowed to charge your customers the processing fee for credit cards now? It's allowed by the credit card processor that you can put on the receipt that credit card fee 3%. Is that something that you see there in the the CBD stores doing?
If I understand you correctly, I think you're asking, can you take that extra cost, which sometimes we have such small margins, right? So can we pass that on to the customer? Is that what you're asking? Okay, absolutely. And I would say now it's becoming more popular, and I don't know why during the pandemic this became a thing, but we're starting to get used to that, not just in this industry, but in other industries where we as the customer are saying, okay, if we're gonna pay with a debit card or credit card, then we'll take care of that fee. It's sort of like the cost of doing business almost. But sometimes these merchants can't stay afloat with all these extra fees piled on them, okay, until they get a footing, until they build that business a little bit better. So it's, maybe we don't come out and say, customers pay the fee, maybe we just add that into the total cost, and they don't see it. You know, it's just, okay, if it's $25, that includes the processing fee. That's another way to do it.
And the last bit of advice for anybody, any line of business, when you're doing online marketing and doing SEO, go see someone experienced. I had the misfortune of going to a big firm thinking that, well, they know the inroads, they know the lay of the land, but what they didn't know was hemp. So my first 3 months with this $700 a month SEO firm was teaching them about, well, you can't say that, well, you can't do that. And it was a tough lesson to learn. It was a 1-year contract, and I spent, 700 times 12, and I got nothing. So go to somebody experienced. You'll save yourself the long, arduous process of learning while you're earning, and that doesn't go too well.
And a lot of, one of the nice things that's happening is, for instance, I'll give you an example with my company, is we do everything a la carte. So we're not here to sell, so they sell packages and commitments. There are no, going through our company, there are no application fees, there are no consulting fees. Again, we're all in this together. And so we know that sometimes those things stop people from making that next step, which is imperative for the foundation of their business. So we don't want those roadblocks. We want you to be successful. And so we'll be there to coach you along. But if all you need is SEO, then you come in the door and you go right out with what you need. And we grow with you as opposed to selling you any kind of large packages.
All right, let's go ahead and close it up. If everybody will help me thank the panel. Thank you, Catherine, and Lawrence, and Susan. Just real quick, before we go to the reception, we still have a couple of open VIP tickets to Topgolf. If anybody wants to go, come see the registration desk. We are in the exhibit hall for the reception, and then we're back in here tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. I don't want to get the time wrong again. 8 o'clock, I think, first thing tomorrow morning. Okay? Thank you.